GM, just a quick one before we get going. So, as you know, the Blocmates podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Certainly shouldn't be considered as financial advice. We have absolutely no idea what we're talking about half the time. So, any investment decision you do make should be based on your own research and your understanding of the risks involved. One more thing as well, there's around 50% of people who listen regularly who aren't subscribed yet. So, if you please could just do us a favor and hit the subscribe or the follow button or the like button, helps content grow, helps us grow, helps it reach more people like yourselves, and it means the world to us as well. So that's the last I'll ask of you. So yeah, let's get to the episode. Right, we're back. How are you doing, gents? Dan, how are you doing?
Sensational, mate. How are you?
Very tired, but holding on in, just watching the markets rip me a new one. What about yourself, Jerry?
Yeah, good. Singapore was great. It was cool to hang with you guys. My liver took serious amounts of damage. They ended up picking up a bug. Pretty sure it wasn't COVID, but it's good to be back.
I'm hearing those nasty words go around a lot recently.
Yeah.
The C word. But what takeaways did we get from the conference?
Right. You mean when we weren't absolutely socializing with friends? What did we take away? Well, like on a serious note, it was a really good event, and it was really cool to like see a lot of things that we don't get exposure to because we're degenerates and we're in like almost like a completely different area of crypto. So it's really cool to see a lot of, and this is what really surprised me, a lot of, you can call them Web 2 or TradFi businesses and, you know, establishments that were there. So you had like the NASDAQ had a stand there, Google Cloud had a stand there, Tencent, Alibaba. And I know as much of a LARP as Arthur is, and he was literally just there to like pump his Filecoin bags. He did make a good point about like decentralized storage, and versus something like AWS or you know the cloud there, like more of a decentralized version of it. So that was kind of like one of the big takeaways for me. Another massive takeaway was, you know, the projects that are going to go to zero because they had the most gorgeous booth babes, and there was a picture that a guy tagged me in on Twitter, and it was those really hot anime girls. There's probably about 16 of them. They were shilling a QR code just on the inside of their thigh so people could like, you know, scan it and like you know, interact with them or whatever. But it was really interesting to see. It was so funny.
I think my conclusion. Yeah, I think I totally agree with Dan on what it is that he's saying. It's like really cool to see that there is this whole interest. And then I actually had a call with someone this morning who mentioned to me that like Google's actually quite interested in getting involved in kind of like the node game. And that's desperately needed in this space. You know, there's you know, Chainlink basically controls everything, which is fine for Chainlink, but it's not really fine, I think, for the ecosystem as a whole, particularly DeFi. We need more players, and it was really cool to hear that like Google wants to get involved in that. They're obviously seeing the value. So yeah, they were playing. I think Bloomberg was there as well. You know, a couple of other big players, big ecosystems. Guys, that whole event is ridiculous. You know, it's like it really does give you an insight into how Asia has positioned itself as kind of like the main instigator in this whole thing and player. You know, the US is definitely sleeping at the wheel and probably also drinking way too much behind the wheel as well. The other thing is, though, that my feeling was that a lot of those protocols that were on display and kind of like a ratio of the more booth babes, the more chance of failure, I think that does apply in this case. And I also got the feeling that like, you know, 75% of those protocols just are freaking scams, you know, like just something's not really like right, but it's still reassuring to see that there is still a lot of really cool innovation going down. I saw some really cool games. I didn't like spend enough time, but I did see some super cool games that like got my attention as we were kind of like traveling through the whole space. And hopefully next cycle we actually get to see real games that real people are playing, and it's not just about, you know, how much money can we make, but let's see how creative this thing can be and how it can grow, as a narrative.
I just want to do like a quick shout out, a very quick shout out to everybody that actually put the time and effort to put on Token2049, because it was a massive event across multiple floors. And from my viewpoint, which was on the floor most of it, because I couldn't stand, obviously had like a foot injury. It was run flawless. Like the facilities there were great. The food and beverages came out on time, and even like, because we were obviously dealing with someone like the PR companies behind the scenes as well. And literally, like, we generally had a flawless experience. And I saw like a few noobs like having a moan at some of the PR girls because something wasn't quite right in his mind when it actually was. But the abuse that they got was definitely not deserved. But just a massive shout out to them for doing such a good job.
Yeah, coordinating 10,000 people in over the course of a couple of days is very, very impressive and so well delivered. And the beers on the closing night kept flowing a little bit too much.
Oops.
But yeah,
what did you think, Grant? What were your thoughts around it?
I think I said, I don't know if I said it off air, but I've said it this week previously, so apologies if I'm repeating myself, but it's strange how there's the 2017 alumni with the largest booths still, because they obviously raised a fuck ton of ETH, and ETH went up so much. Like, the raise in and of itself was ridiculous, but then the price increase of ETH off the back of that is also ridiculous. So you're seeing the likes of Neo and just a lot of ridiculous projects that I think are probably just going to turn into marketing companies and make out that they're doing something. And because you can't, like, as an investor or someone who's put money in, as long as they're doing something, like, you can't get arrested for incompetence. So they have to be seen to be shown face, I think. So maybe you can get arrested for incompetence, particularly in Singapore. Singapore's quite strict. Maybe you could. But yeah, that was weird to see that. Luca from Pudgy Penguins kind of blew me away. And other than that, Smokey the Bearer might come across as silly online, but he's very, very smart. As is Papa. So, but yeah, it was just good to see everyone we got the team together for the first time. A few of us had met separately, but it was good. But next time we're going to fucking Bogota or some shit like that. We're going a little bit more degenerate place, and we'll host another Blockmates side event wherever we are. And by that time as well, it'll be LARP holder access for that. So look forward to that one.
So what's been happening this week? I know that you guys did Good Morning DJ, and you came on and you were like, dude, there's nothing going on. Like, looked everywhere. It's a fucking barren wasteland.
I was fucking pulling the sofa up and looking under the cushions. I just couldn't find anything. The funniest thing we found were SPF's like chat records and his emails. Vinny, shut up. Where his dad wasn't happy with his 200 grand a year salary, so he CC'd his mom in to make it better and put him up to $1 million. So, and the other funny thing is that orange juice futures are at all-time highs because of a drought in California and a shortage of orange juice production. But
insane.
That's about as good as the week's been. It's been very, very flat.
It's been weird, hasn't it?
It has been weird, but you know what, guys? I mean, there is actually something going on. There's the Hashverse. I mean, our good friend Andrew Saunders. Yeah, there we go. Look there, he's wearing the cap. Probably one of the best looking snapbacks that Token2049.
Oh, I thought you were going to pay me a compliment then. I'm going to say the most handsome looking degenerate.
He definitely is the most handsome degenerate that I know, with definitely the most handsome cap that 2049 produced. So I mean, that's actually a pretty cool story because, I mean, obviously Andrew used to work for Arbitrum. He was hired by the Hashverse crew. Just please excuse my wife if she walks past. I think she waved. And he took on the PR kind of marketing role, and we met Andrew in Singapore. It was great, like just such a class act, dude. And yeah, I mean, it's just been really cool to see like Hashverse just in the depths of the bear market launching, kind of gamifying the DEX that is Hash. What's it? Not Hashverse, it's Hash DEX. Hashflow DEX, correct. And essentially, you can form allegiances, and allegiances fight one another. You do a whole lot of tasks. You can earn drops, which allow you to kind of level up in battle. And we're coming after those filthy donkeys.
We are going to absolutely fucking wreck you, boys. You see how I'm staring in the camera? I'm looking at you. Yeah. Yeah, you, Lambo. Yeah. Noodles. You see that? Coming for you, son.
Yeah, so we've got a bit of a vendetta going on with the donkeys at the minute because they're the only one that are coming close to us. But yeah, I think it's brilliant. Like the way they've done it is absolutely incredible. I think we've got a podcast from Thibaut who's on the team. Who's, if you want to search for that, to kind of get a bit of a in-depth explanation of what it actually is. But go and have a look at it. If you hold in a LARP Quest for LARP badge 1, you can join our allegiance as well, and then go and kick some donkeys around. And then yeah, we cannot let those donkeys win. So we'll have to do everything in our power to make that happen. Because if they win, they're just going to fucking torture us for the rest of our lives. So we just can't let it happen. I think we've got more firepower than them.
When we first spoke to Taboo about it, the whole premises of the Hashverse is they're aiming to create a gamified DAO, and it's going to be very interesting to see what we're doing right now, where we're doing a big battle royale, where we're just going to go poon some noobs, where it evolves from there, and then will we be the founding forefathers of the Hashverse, and we're the ones that control maybe a specific piece of land or an area, and then we can invade each other. Whoever invades wins and gets most influence on the vote. That then goes on to Hashflow, and if there's ever a Blocmates coin, which there never ever will be, we can go pump our coin on there, which there obviously never will be. But yeah, it's been very interesting. And what's really cool is this is brought the fun back into crypto, at least for me anyway. Just playing with the characters, having some LARP, and if you want a little bit alpha, jump in the Hashverse Discord, go into the Smack Talk, because it is literally donkeys versus Blockmates. The Pudgy Penguins, the Campai Pandas, the Mushrooms, everyone else. There's even I didn't even realize there was more apes than just us, but there's another breed of ape that's supposed to be somewhere in the Hashverse, nowhere to be seen. It is literally us versus the donkeys.
So we're going to be raping and pillaging the donkeys' land.
Clearly, we're taking this whole thing way too seriously. I say bring it on.
They've picked a perfect time to launch it because there's nothing else happening apart from SPF's dad crying about his salary and Orange Futures ripping.
But wait, there's more. There's more. Our favorite crypto influencer was begging for money yesterday, which was just absolutely the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Yes, we are talking about Spatboy and his video about people must donate money to him because he's had it really, really tough, and someone took his Lambo, and now we need to feel sorry for him.
I tell you what, mate, watching that video, I got so freaking angry about it because, dipshit, obviously dipshit, but I put his wallet on there, and literally I sat there writing the newsletter, la-di-da, and I was watching it just completely moonshoot. And as of yesterday, at peak, people who donated him 115,000 United States dollars. That is 100. You can make 100K in crypto in less than 24 hours by just asking for it online. Now, could you imagine if I put a wallet address out there, saying I helped Dan get out of his mum's basement, send shekels and shillings? Could you imagine that? How much money would I get? Probably nothing, but still.
How much has he got donated now?
right now because people sent him shit coins and they've nuked. So he's now on 89,000. But still, 89 grand in a day. That's not bad for a fucking like 90-second, like, oh, please help me. Oh, fuck off.
Actually, that's a great idea. I'm going to send him those tokens that are sitting in my wallets that are absolutely useless that have gone to zero. Thanks for that. That's a great idea. He'll be my burn wallet.
Send him some USDC through Tornado Cash so that wallet gets blacklisted for using Tornado Cash.
But you should see some like you should see some of the NFTs people have sent him. Somebody sent him a tubby cat. Somebody sent him like bitch tits.eth ENS. You've got bitbum.eth is another ENS, and somebody sent him like an ARB babes. It's so
God,
funny.
It's hysterical.
You know the crew have effectively kicked him off the channel and the publication and all that shit. So I think they're just as sad as him. Like they've kicked him off. He's sprung up his own new channel. It's actually quite funny. So he posted like a screenshot of his live stream with 4.5K watching, and then the guy who's taken over him, and it's got like 819 watching. And he said, if a stream happens in the forest and there's no one there to watch it, did it even make a sound? Which I thought was quite fucking funny. So obviously, that's been quite funny to watch. But yeah.
Well, I think the lesson with this fool and this clown is, I mean, he is the court jester. At the end of the day, that's the role that he's now taken. It's his. There's no getting away with it. Kind of like that funny hat and the tight outfit. That's who he is now. And the lesson is that, and we've spoken about this before. This whole space, you're not bigger than this whole space. Not a single person will ever be bigger than this whole space, and you need to actually understand that. And if you don't, life, as you said in the post yesterday, Grant, life comes at you fast. And in this case, I don't think there's been the rise and fall of anyone in this space like it has with this guy. And it's just, I mean, he probably will recover, and he'll probably be back in the next bull and doing the same thing, and people will be sending him money and doing all this kind of stuff. But he will forever be the court jester. That will never, ever change. No matter how much money he makes, he is the ultimate clown.
You know what's happened now with him? He has been gifted a 6-figure lifeline from the community. Now, he obviously likes attention, and there's obviously like a psychological reason for that. Maybe he's like lonely or whatever. But he's been gifted a 6-figure lifeline. Now, you take 6 figures into a country where literally $1 will buy you like half a day's like living. Mate, the smart thing for him to do would just be to like disappear and go away and like literally like, I don't want to say live in the Bahamas because whatever, but like go live in like a really nice, chill, cheap place away from everyone. Just fucking like leave everybody alone. And you know what, just enjoy the, the time you've got. Because I can imagine like if he went to some kind of like crypto conference, and this is always probably like an interesting thing, like if these people who have LARPed on and like scam people go to these crypto conferences, you just imagine them like getting just like clunked one, especially someone like him.
I think he's still got control over a shitload of his money, and I think he's probably just using it to.
Well, his track record and his behavior is 100% indicative of exactly what you just said. There's just no ways that he's being truthful. I don't think he's ever been truthful and never will be truthful. He's incapable of it. It's just, when did he ever like do anything positive for anybody else except himself? I don't think he has. He might think he has, but this is all about, it's his show. And I actually think it's pretty cool that there has been some karmic retribution here, irrespective of whether he's fucking LARPing it. I think
he blamed it, bro. He blamed it on diet pills, bro. Diet pills, that's got green tea extract in it, mate. No green tea extract ever made a man go and cheat on his wife.
Yeah.
Serious.
So moving on to the second biggest, or maybe the biggest clown in the full industry. Not directly, but indirectly. So 0x never going to make it from DeFi Llama has raised concerns around one of the largest holders of DAI is actually Richard Hart, who owns a shit ton of DAI, and he's concerned
how
that
much
it's
DAI? How much DAI does he own?
11.3% of the DAI supply, 430 million.
That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's now backed by Hex.
So what are the ramifications of that? I mean, what are the scenarios that can play out with that?
Well, there isn't enough liquidity to sell into that. You could take it all if you wanted to sell it. So I don't know. You shouldn't. It gets funky, doesn't it? Because it's completely immutable and permissionless to use DAI. So
DAI is probably one of the most. It is one of the most like kick-ass stables out there, isn't it? In many ways,
it's the best. It's the best decentralized stablecoin there is. Like
it's been through everything. It's been through everything. I mean, and it's the longest. It's been around the longest, hasn't it? I think it was even around before USDT and USDC.
DAI was proposed in 2015.
There we go.
And and released in 2017, just with ETH backing, and then it went to have multi-collateral backing like further on after there was like a big flash crash in 2018. So, you know, it's like it is a bit concerning and probably never gets brought up, but fuck knows. What do you do? He's going to send it back and convert it to USDC, is he?
There's no ways he'll do that, because as soon as he does that in his mind,
blacklisting.
Absolutely, but in his mind as well, because despite his failings, and there are many, the one thing he is very aware of is the importance of decentralization, and particularly the importance of DAI. There's a reason why he's holding it, that much of it, because he knows that you just can't fuck with DAI, really. You'd have to shut DeFi down, and that ain't going to happen.
My question would be like, how would he off ramp that, and like where would he even like
no ways
off ramp that?
No off ramping that. That's been one of the contentious issues that Eric, who has obviously criticized, well, he's basically like shown the failings of Hex along the way, and he spoke about one of the biggest problems that Richard is experiencing is that he's got all these billions, but he can't actually take it past a certain point. He can only get so much out, and then that money is effectively useless. So he can live a good life, he can do all of that stuff, but he can't really build substantial wealth outside of the DeFi space because of the constraints that he has on off-ramping.
I mean, I've never actually like tried to off ramp DAI. Like I've never personally, like full transparency, I've never actually used it or transacted with it. Would you just like, and it's probably a really dumb question, but I know there's somebody else like me out there going to ask it. Can you off ramp DAI in exactly the same way as like, and the same route as USDT, USDC?
Yes,
99% of places, yeah.
Yeah. It's the same story.
And even your self-custodial cards like Holy Held or whatever, you can load your Holy Held card with DAI and it'll just convert it after.
You see, there is a limitation though in terms of how much you can move around. That's the problem, and that's what, you know, as Eric Wall said. So if you guys don't know what we're talking about, we're essentially talking about Richard Hart, who's the father of Hex, and Eric Wall, who's quite a big critic of, well, I think he's Richard's biggest critic. has pointed out the failings of having all this kind of like value in DeFi and not being able to actually access it outside of DeFi. And that's why Richard goes and buys all those expensive things and, you know, pays for expensive hotel rooms. But there's only so much things you can buy with a credit card or a debit card in this case.
I wonder if he's got the DAI staked and in the yield. Surely not. Don't know. I'd need to look into the wallets and the addresses, but it's absolutely fucking ridiculous, isn't it? How did he ever?
Dude, he ended up getting. Dude, he got people to sacrifice $980 million for Pulse. People sent him every coin on every chain over a 3-month period, and he just accumulated AVAX, Optimism, you name it, Phantom, you name it, dude. He collected it, and he just collected and he collected and he collected. $980 million. Hey?
Obviously a good marketer then.
You know the SEC are after him now.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Hilarious. He'll go away for a very long time if they catch him.
I think
another person who's got he's got 9 figures in the bank. Obviously, can't touch the majority of it, but somebody else who would probably do with like letting his ego go like deflate for a little bit and literally just like go completely missing. New name, new identity, new place, new space. Unless the SEC's taking his passport, then I'd probably suggest going to find a fucking like little canoe boat.
Richard, he's been living abroad for ages. He's only gone back once to the States, and that was
where's he live?
His mom. I think his mom was unwell. I think he spends a lot of time in Europe. It seems. I mean, he landed up debating Eric Wall. I think it was in Sweden somewhere, or maybe Croatia. They did like this live debate. It's actually worth watching if you haven't seen it. It's actually really worth watching. Eric basically buries him in the shallow grave, in my opinion. It was pretty brutal. I wouldn't want to debate Eric anyways. I think Eric is just way too articulate.
Some people just tie you up in knots on any topic. They're just like generally good at lead you down into little traps and then fucking set traps for you and shit.
Correct, yeah.
It's a fascinating skill. Such a good skill.
Yeah, Eric is very good at that. So I don't know how that plays out for Richard Hart, but I think Richard will just fight that whole thing until the cows come home. I mean, he's got the money. So I mean, he's got 432 million that we know of in DAI. Imagine what he's got stashed in others. He's probably got like $1 billion in Bitcoin. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, even though he is critical of Bitcoin.
Yeah. So some actual news.
Is there any?
Sester's back, isn't he?
You know how much I hate. You know how much I hate that wag me word. I think it's the most pathetic phrase ever coined in crypto, and then he would choose that, you know, and it's kind of like out of principle. I mean, if you're buying something like wag me, just know you are going to get wrecked.
But that's why you should. Well, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. That's why I probably would buy it personally, not financial advice. Obviously not in this market anyway, because this market's just going to fucking destroy everyone. But if it was 2021 again,
yeah, absolutely.
2021 conditions, then yeah. If
it was 2021 conditions, naming it wag me, that thing probably would have reached 150 billion market cap in less than 2 weeks without even flinching.
Just go straight up.
Straight up, yeah. It would be vertical. It wouldn't even be parabolic. It would be like literally straight up. No one would sell.
Breaks a hole in the top of your laptop screen.
But market is really taking serious amounts of beating at the moment. It almost feels like we are preparing for Armageddon, like in the purest form towards the end of the year, and leading up into the next halvening, and it's just playing to the script book exactly like it has in the past before. We've seen this show before, gentlemen. It's no different.
It's disgusting. It's so bad at the minute. There's no point doing anything. All hope is lost. Pivot to AI.
The only thing we can do right now, and this definitely is financial advice, is to watch the rugby and to cheer on whichever team you think has the biggest pair of legs.
Come on, just show your team, man. Just show them.
The Springboks, dude. Current world champions. The only team that's standing in the way are the Irish. Everyone else is cannon fodder.
You said the English are going to do well.
They are going to do well. Their bracket is, they're playing the cynical, like, kicking game, which everyone criticized the Springboks for doing in past World Cups, and now the English are doing. And guess who the biggest critics were? The English. And now they're playing the same game plan. It's fantastic.
Can't beat them, join them.
I think England have got a very good chance to get to the final.
I'd like to see us play you again.
In the final?
That'd be sick.
Yeah. That'll be sick. Another one like that. The Irish will be absolutely devastated. They will cry. The French will cry croissants, literally.
So if we got anything else to actually talk about,
how would you guys feel about 1100 ETH?
Yeah, that'd be nice. What for?
Would you buy it if it went to 1100, or would you get scared? Like, be honest.
Yeah, I'd shit myself.
Yeah, I'd shit myself.
So you know what? You know what I've done? I've put in buy orders. I've done it, and I'm not going to fucking turn them off. And if it goes below,
mate, you're the one that's tanking the market, mate. Like, your order is so fat that you are literally like honing the whole market down.
No, dude, my order's tiny, bro. I wish it was fat.
Mate, we're going to get a wick soon.
I need at least another 16 cycles before I can have that effect.
Ah, you bastard.
I'll be 125, dude, and then I'll be putting those fat bids in. But then by then, ETH will be at like probably $500,000, and Bitcoin will still be at 25.
Mate, the way it's going, like, I generally wouldn't be surprised if we see like at least a 1300 ETH on the chart, like bouncing that region. Would not be surprised at all.
That 1100 does look in play, doesn't it? 15 is last line of defense at 15, then it's fucking lights out, buddy.
Thanks for playing.
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance that we're going to see 1100. I prefer not to, but I think it's just kind of preordained in terms of how this whole halvening story works.
Yeah, and I still think we're on track for a 4200 S&P, or at least a bounce and retest there. I had a chart like from ages ago, and I just drew a few squiggles and I was just bored one evening, and unfortunately it is gravitating to that kind of level. So I really wouldn't be surprised, you know. And then if it bounces there, then everybody will be like, oh, secular bull, let's go, keep going. We're on for a 6,000 end of year S&P, which well, it's not 6,000, but a lot of people have been saying like a 5,000 S&P towards end of year, early next year, which is interesting.
I've got 4,370, 4,280, and 4,162. But yeah, we'll see. It just looks awful. It's trading like CZ's about to get.
But you know what we missed out on. There was actually a really interesting post on Twitter of Mr. Sifu with a $20 million notional short that he opened at around 1640, and you know, someone, you know, took the opportunity to kind of like have a little bit of a, I don't know, a little bit of a dig at the fact that Sifu was a gambler and the whole thing. And then like the guys who do know, he's not a gambler. Like the dude does not gamble. He's not the kind of guy that's going to go and open a short if he doesn't have some, not a freaking chance, guys. Like the guy's got a 10x freaking short open for 20 million notional. He knows what's going on. And then, so I'm like thinking this literally like 6 hours later, he posts and says, listen, yeah, guys, I've got a heads up on something. I've got my short open. I don't gamble. This is what's going on. And then he obviously got called out. Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, guys, if I look at the price right now, he's doing pretty well on that short right now. So yeah, it's just really interesting in terms of like kind of like information and then information, and then, you know, don't listen to what people say, look at what they do. $20 million notional is definitely a do. So take that information and use it at your own discretion, gentlemen.
What did he open at?
I think it was at 1640, 1638, somewhere around there. I'm not entirely sure. I think if you did a search on Twitter, it will come up.
So he's made a good chunk of change overnight, then, didn't he?
Already, yeah, but I'm sure it's still going to carry on. And I don't think I really don't. Do I have the Kajonis to go and open a 20 mil long? No, definitely not. I'll just sit and watch it all unfold.
Mate, all looks like it's going Goblin Town right now anyway. I think the only thing that's doing well, I think you picked up this morning, was IMX.
But IMX is going to retrace. I really don't see it going back up again unless there is really like something that's coming on the horizon that no one knows about.
Yeah, our article tonight.
Our article, yeah. So we are putting out an article on IMX. Those guys they've killed the whole gaming thing. They're basically setting themselves up for the next cycle. I mean,
they're like just sat waiting.
They
in
are
great position. They're the picks and shovels of the gaming, like the Web3 gaming takeoff, aren't they? So
people don't, you know what? People don't even realize the extent of how much of the picks and shovels they've put in place for this whole thing. Like, it's actually ridiculous. But like this passport thing, like everything that they're doing is so deliberate. I'm actually going to be interviewing them next week. I'm looking forward to it. If I can just get some time.
Nerding out over that one, yeah.
Dude, I mean, I love that. You know, they said to me, "Can you send some questions through?" And I'm like, "No, we're just going to chat. I don't need to send any questions through. We're going to chat." And they're obviously like this big corporate entity, and it's like it's got to be like. And I'm like, okay, I suppose I'm going to have to put some questions across, but I think that's going to be a cool discussion.
I'm going to say,
send them that. What was it? Were you in what magazine was it in? Enemy or some shit?
Which one was
back in the day? The magazine article, the magazine feature that you're in. Just send them that one. I don't need questions, bitch.
I don't need questions. Doing this longer than you've found it. So,
yeah.
What were you going to say, Dan?
I was going to say, like, I think both IMX and AVAX are positioning themselves real well within the gaming space for it, because if you look at the actual games that are being built there now, they're AAA games, but the kind of AAA games that are built on top of blockchain, not, hey, here's a token or an NFT, like go buy a land sale. It's like, look, this is an actual game. It just so happens to be built on blockchain. Now, you want to know how gaming is going to onboard the millions? Well, it's going to be through people like Dr. Disrespect or like the FaZe Clan or, you know, maybe Optic Gaming playing the game. People knowing that it's built on the blockchain, and then idiots like us who love video games and love just watching people play games as much as playing games get a little bit interested. Be like, oh, what's this? What's this AVAX thing? What's this IMX thing? Oh, let me have a look at that. And then that's how it goes on.
The real value in blockchain gaming is ownership, because, you know, the thing is that your World of Warcraft account in its current form, and I've got one. I mean, I'm sure you still got yours somewhere lurking, and I've got mates of mine who still freaking play that game like 400 years later, and it's like they've got like max leveled characters. And like literally dozens of them, but those accounts don't belong to these players. They belong to freaking Blizzard. If Blizzard says, listen here, buddy, like you can't sell these characters, you can't do anything with them beyond your subscription service that you pay, you'll get the account banned, and you'll get banned. Like you won't be able to play the game anymore under your real name, because they've got all those details. And what blockchain solves here is that it creates tradable you own that asset. It becomes yours. And it's an asset because it's worth time, and it's worth the fact that you spent 20 years of your life playing the game. It's got a monetary value to it. And that's the beauty of blockchain. I mean, being able to trade your accounts, your characters, your items. I mean, it's super appealing. I mean, that's how we created business out of this 20 years ago. And now individuals can do the same going into the future.
So basically it becomes a real-world digital asset.
Yes. Digital asset. A proper world digital asset, not the concept thereof, that has intrinsic value based on time and however else, rare items and their value, and taking the auction house within the game and putting it into the real world and allowing for that to happen and creating markets around that. I think it's fascinating. Always has fascinated me.
One of the original fake stories that Vitalik told about Ethereum.
Well, it was because he had a warlock. He had a warlock in the game, but he didn't rage quit World of Warcraft because he couldn't own his warlock. He didn't like the rules that were confined to the warlock and the way that he had to play it. He wanted to play it differently.
Well, then go roll something else, dipshit.
He didn't want to do that, and then he fucking went and rolled Ethereum instead.
Yeah, good trade-off. I'd have done the same.
Yeah. But I think, dude, Vitalik has introduced some fantastic ideas around soul-bound tokens. The whole idea about soul-bound tokens came from a soul-bound crystal that a warlock possesses in the game. And our soul-bound token is your online identity, essentially. He wrote a paper on that. We know that Metis adopted that idea. But that's going to come back into the ETH mindset. You'll see it. In terms of online identity and ranking people according to the deeds that they do online, soul-bound tokens are the way. It's something that will play a part in blockchain and blockchain kind of hierarchy going forward, I think.
Quest for LARP 3 is a soul-bound token. And 4
absolutely a soul. Yeah.
Because we don't want people transferring ownership to people who actually want the lifetime access to research pass and have done the effort. So
soul-bound tokens are a big thing especially for Vitalik's kind of vision of how this whole blockchain diaspora looks like.
And on that bombshell, when LARP 4?
I've just written it up so soon, but I'm not announcing it, and you want to be fast, so you best read the articles, read the newsletter, watch the YouTube, because I'm not going to announce it on socials because there's so many people that want the allow list and the white list. There's not enough NFTs, nowhere near enough. And so I can't just announce it. It has to be people who are just passively watching our stuff all the time who get the first nod to say it's live. So that's all I'll say.
We're doing 400 NFTs, and then we each getting
420.
420. That includes the ones that we getting, right?
Yeah. So there's no more. Yeah. We're not keeping any for the team or anything.
Yeah. So the team's not keeping any, or we're not minting extra ones. Every single NFT that gets minted on the day or during that period, that's it. We won't be dumping and doing all that kind of stuff that every single other NFT collection that has ever been minted. We won't be doing that. We'll be the only ones. But mine is the best. I've seen it. It's better than all of yours.
Mine's the most jacked.
Yeah. That's all we can say for now until I release it early next week. And then we'll be away we go. All right, I need to jump off. So
on that bombshell,
see you all later.
See you in the metaverse.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's always good to see you, even when there's no beers involved. Cheers, everyone. Take it easy.